if you needed any proof, which I don't think you do, but if you needed any proof that the Gators were back in charge of the swamp, not only in Washington, but in Wall Street and all around the country, you need look no further than an excellent article this week in the New York Times by Renee Merle. The headline doesn't really tell the whole story of the article. The headline is "Embattled Bankers Embrace Trump's Call for Deregulation. Profit is not a four-letter word." That's one of the things they said. Although, interestingly enough, my word for the guy who said that is a four-letter word. So, it all ties together. But that's not really the money quote in this piece. Renee Merle, the journalist who wrote this story, talks about a ritzy Washington hotel ballroom and a meeting of nearly 1,500 bankers that turned into a pep rally. "Be proud of being a banker and of the industry's record profits," the speaker implored the assembled. "In fact," he said, "it's time to ask Congress for help so that the industry can do even better." Now, remember, Republicans control all three branches of government, and it was a former Republican chair of the House Committee on Banking that said Washington is here to serve the banks. Now, here's what James Ballantyne, chief lobbyist of the American Bankers Association, told this crowd of bankers. He said, "I don't want a seat at the table. I want the table." That is the philosophy of Wall Street greed in a nutshell. That is the Goldman Sachs philosophy in a nutshell. And of course, it is Goldman Sachs that Donald Trump demonized in his presidential campaign. And it is Goldman Sachs which has been the primary source of staff in the Donald Trump administration, where Goldman Sachs graduates include the loathsome Steve Bannon, who before he became a professional white nationalist was a Goldman Sachs banker. It includes Steve Mnuchin. It includes Gary Cohn. It includes other members of the Trump Gator team. So now, Democrats didn't do nearly enough to rein in Wall Street. Democrats were way too cozy in Wall Street. Basically, if Trump is the president of Goldman Sachs, Clinton and Obama were the presidents of Citigroup. They brought in a lot of people from Citigroup, but at least they tried to do a little bit to say, "Hey guys, tone it down a little bit. Let's try to meet a little bit of the public's concerns on it." They didn't do enough, but they did something. Now Trump and the Republicans in Congress are busy undoing what they did and then making the situation even worse. Now, as the Washington Post points out, critics argued banks are doing well enough without the help. Gee, you'd think. But as they report, Trump has still directed Steve Mnuchin, he's the Treasury Secretary, outlining which rules should be scrapped. So we have people coming in at all sorts of levels of government saying that regulation is the problem. Regulation isn't the problem. Bankers are the problem. They shouldn't have a seat at the table. Their seat at the table is that the government charters them and allows them to exist. In order to be allowed to exist, they should observe the rules of the road. If they don't want to, get off the highway.